Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video I'm continuing my look at classic albums from my CD collection, or ones that, well, I consider classic. And this is Fallen by Evanescence from 2003. Now this is their debut album, and the next release would be Anywhere But Home 2004, which was a live album and also a DVD as well. So that's their history in that part. It's interesting that a live album is the second album, but there we are. Now, Evanescence were founded in 1994 by singer and keyboardist Amy Lee and the guitarist Ben Moody. And this was in Little Rock, Arkansas. And they've released 5 albums. The last one was after the pandemic, The Bitter Truth in 2021. So they've had periods where they've been on tour, they've had a break, and then they come back, and then they've recorded more albums. So let me get into the details of this album. As I say, it's their debut album. It was recorded between August and December 2002 and released on the 4th of March 2003. Now, studios they used a few studios throughout this period when recording it. They were Track Record Inc. at North Hollywood, California, then Ocean, that was Burbank, California, which is North Hollywood, California, and Conway, which is Hollywood, California. Now, this is produced by Dave Fortman. Dave Fortman was a member of Ugly Kid Joe. Also produced Slipknot and Godsmack. The label is Wind Up, which is part of Epic. And we've got Amy Lee on vocals, choral arrangements, piano, keyboard, and we've also got Ben Moody, who's guitars and the tribal percussion. Then they've got the duo there, and then there's additional musicians brought in. We've got Dave Hodges, piano, keyboards. We've got Francesco Discosmo, bass. We've got Josh Fries, who's the drums. We've also got the Millennium Choir. We've got Paul McCoy, who's the guest vocalist. And then I think the other important aspects to show about this is that they were very clear that they wanted everything not computer generated. they wanted it all live instruments. So we've got the choir. They came in, and they are this 12 members of the Millennium Choir Voices, and they also used 22 string orchestra for the strings. So that's all live. That was all brought into the studio live, which is great. I think that's great to see. It's obviously people sometimes are working within their means, especially as this is a debut album, and you have to pay musicians that you bring in, but this is a great. It's always good if you can use live musicians, and that's what they've done on this, which is, I think, it's a great thing really that they've done that. Now let me go through the tracks on the album, and I'll give you the writers as I go through. So we've got the opening track is Going Under, which is a Moody Lee Hodges composition. Then we've got, I suppose you could say, the main single that brought them to a big attention, which is Bring Me to Life, which features Paul McCroy. And this is written by Moody, Lee, and Hodges. And then we've got Everybody's Fool, which is by Moody, Lee, and Hodges. Then we've got another single from the album, and well known as well, is My Immortal. It's amazing. So I have something very special there. And that is Moody and Lee's who wrote that one. So two of them on that one. Then we've got Haunted, which is Moody, Lee, and Hodges. Wow, Haunted, it really is something special. I don't know whether it's one of my favourite tracks from the album. You also feel this sort of the religious aspect, spiritual kind of wonderful. It's wonderful. Just something special about that track. Really, it's outstanding. But the whole album works well and it fits together. But with that next one, I'm going off there. We've got Tourniquet, which is written by Moody, Lee Hodges, and Rocky Gray. And this is a cover of Soul Embraced My Tourniquet, their song My Tourniquet. So they've just revamped it a bit, but it's a cover of that. And then we've got Imaginary, which is another Moody Lee composition. Then we've got Taking Over Me, which is Moody Lee Hodges and John LeCompte. And then we've got Hello, which is written by Moody Lee and Hodges. And then we've got My Last Breath, which is Moody Lee and Hodges. And then the very last track is Whisper, a beautiful song that climaxes this album so well, and that is written by Moody and Lee. There were 4 singles taken from this album. So we have Bring Me to Life, My Immortal, Going Under, and Everybody's Fool. They were the 4 singles. The album was certainly promoted, particularly with Bring Me to Life being the first single, and it was pushed through that. I think as I say, the group never really labelled themselves as nu metal. They didn't, but the record company pushed them as a new metal band, but I think it's quite clear when you hear this album that there's a lot more to them than that. Um, I don't know how you would categorize them. You I think you just put them. It's rock music, but with more sort of variations within that. I think, and the use of all other instruments as well that you don't necessarily always associate with rock music. And as I say, them wanting to keep this very real and live, and using live musicians. As I say, the strings used in this are all live musicians, and the choir they used was a live choir. So that is, I think, I really I compliment them really for doing that, because they're kind of saying, this is us as a band, this is our statement. Obviously, when you haven't got much money, you have to do what you can, but they were able to do this, and I think it's really good that they did, and it just enhances the whole album. It's an absolute treat. Um, I have to say that Amy Lee's vocals, you could just listen to that voice. A voice is just something special. And sometimes, like when she's just singing, say to with the piano accompaniment, it's magical. I don't know how to say that, but it is. And it's interesting because the album, in many ways, she wrote the lyrics. They're about very sort of sad things, things, of her emotions, because apparently it's a lot of it is the songs were influenced by a breakup in an abusive relationship. Um, and that has influenced her writing of these songs, which are so powerful. Um, and I think it's that really epitomizes so much of the talent that she's got in her songwriting. But then she produces this wonderful voice. I mean, to have that combination of talent is absolutely amazing. I think it's very underrated. I mean, people won't necessarily mention Amy Lee much. They've even probably forgotten about this band, because it got rather put into the new metal label, and unfortunately, when you get put in labels, it tends to stick, and therefore, people then afterwards are not going to look beyond that, especially when a band progresses and doesn't necessarily stick to what is expected. And what I love is I can see, you could, when you've got the heavier sort of metal tones there as well of a rock band, that is great to see, and that's why they stand out as a band, because they're much more than just identifying them as that. But say they're really essentially a duo, and they have got wonderful musicians as well around them to produce this wonderful album. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to it. It's something I come back to quite a lot, because it even though I say the subject matter is really quite, going into sort of darker places, I find it quite uplifting. I know you should say that, but it's something to do with the way it's been put together, the way that the emotion of the voice of that she has got, which is so powerful, combined knowing that she's written these lyrics. It's absolutely amazing. But you've just got to love it. I do. Probably nobody else would, but no. Well, they did. It did sell well on the back of that single, but that single, as I say, does not really represent what they are as a band. Um, and it's an absolute pleasure to listen to this every time. I could just immerse myself in that voice and you go somewhere else. It's like that. It's one of those albums. Yes. I love it. And that's why I wanted to highlight it. It's something that probably doesn't get talked about. And it's a debut album as well. It's amazing how many great debut albums we do get. And this is one, they're still going, the band, as I say. They come back and have done 5 albums, So I think that says a lot as well. That they're there for the wonderful music that they're producing. That is real talent. That's absolute wonderful talent. I think that's it, really. I'm talking about it. And before I go, I'll just show you the CD. There it is. Brilliant cover. There's the back of the cover. Track listing there. And then inside, got the disc there. This design on there. Then there's the back there. And, these normal sleeve when you open it up and what's inside and all that stuff. It's wonderful, isn't it? It looks great. Absolutely wonderful. Really pleased. This is a great album. And that's it. I've gone on far too long, as you've noticed. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We'll let you know when I put out these videos. And if you look at playlists, you can see I do music like this, but I do a lot of films, TV shows, all that kind of thing. If you've got any comments, please put your comments down. And if you give this a like, it's really good because it gets it out onto YouTube. So please give it a like. And as I say, put some comments down and I'll always answer them. Yeah, that's it, I think. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.